Disclaimer. The video serves informational and entertainment purpose only. The content is considered speculative and should not be treated as confirmed fact. We encourage you to conduct your research and form your conclusion. She didn't just defend Rachel Zegler. She might have buried them both. In a world where public opinion can pivot in seconds, one podcast quote lit a match under two already smoldering reputations. And boom, the internet exploded. Meghan Markle, yes, that Meghan, thought she was doing a noble thing, lifting up another woman under fire. But instead, she tied herself to a lightning rod. With one sentence, she didn't just reopen Rachel Zegler's controversy, she became part of it. And suddenly, two of the most polarizing women in pop culture, one an ex-royal, the other a rising star turned headline magnet, were now fused into a single firestorm. The message? Rachel Zegler deserves better. The result? Memes, mockery, and a moment that some say ended Meghan's comeback before it ever began. Because in trying to save someone else, Meghan might have stepped in front of the train herself. And the real shock? It didn't feel brave. It felt calculated. And now, everyone's asking the same question. Was this solidarity or a strategy?
To really wrap your head around why people would be so hateful. It's not catty, it's cruel. Why you would do that.
If you hate Rachel Zegler and you don't know why, or you don't have a good reason why, and for that matter, if you hate Meghan Markle and you don't have a good reason why, I know why.
It wasn't until word started getting out about her making people cry, all their staff resigning.
It's really interesting as I can reflect on it. I keep my distance from it right now just for my own well-being.
She had this opportunity to be a princess, right? But she sees more value today in being an influencer.
It's ironic that she doesn't want to be a princess, but she wants to be treated like a princess.
Meghan is a trained actress. What she does is that she studies people. She's not a good actress, but she is a trained one, right? She's been doing it her entire life. And there is no doubt that she studied, and this is the psychopathic elements of what she does, to have a conversation with her, bursting into tears. And she has convinced there's a thing called psychology called the Freudian transfer. That is the truth. And it's worked, right? So she's done this convincing performance.
Yes, social media is a environment that I think has a lot of that.
She's just become a parody. I just find her so hilarious. Like, if you sat down to write the character of a woman who'd thrown the royal family under the bus, accused them of racism, you've taken the title but you don't want any of the responsibility, and you swan off to California and make rainbow fruit platters. I mean, she's just a joke.
There was a time, not that long ago, when Rachel Zegler was being hailed as the next great face of Hollywood, handpicked by Steven Spielberg, a breakout sensation from West Side Story, a Gen Z Cinderella on her way to becoming Disney royalty. And then, the dream started to crack. From backstage drama to interview blunders to the now infamous Snow White press tour, Rachel's image went from rising icon to PR cautionary tale. Suddenly, people weren't seeing her as the scrappy girl from nowhere. They were seeing someone who mocked the very fairy tale she was cast to lead, someone who called the original prince creepy, who downplayed the legacy and who told the world her version of Snow White was better. Fans? Alienated. Comment sections? Brutal. The studio? Silent. And just when the dust started to settle, when people were quietly stepping away from the headlines, Meghan Markle spoke up. In a podcast designed for healing, for empowerment, Meghan named names. There's a young woman right now, talented, driven, unapologetic, being torn apart simply for refusing to play nice. Rachel Zegler deserves better. Boom. In one sentence, Meghan didn't just defend Rachel, she linked their legacies. Two women, both facing backlash for tone-deaf interviews, smirking commentary, and a habit of framing criticism as hate. It was meant to be solidarity. Instead, it became a meme. The internet dubbed it, "Two narcissists, one mic." And just like that, Rachel's headlines came roaring back, with Meghan now inside them. So how did a moment of support turn into mutual destruction? That unraveling, that backlash, that's coming next. It was supposed to be a moment of sisterhood, a royal rescue, one misunderstood woman stepping up to protect another from the cruelty of the internet. But Meghan Markle's defense of Rachel Zegler, it didn't spark empathy. It lit a fuse. Within hours, clips of the podcast were being ripped apart on social media. TikTok stitched her words with eye rolls. Commentators called it tone deaf, insufferable, and most savagely, the unlikability crossover episode no one asked for. Even people who had nothing to say about Zegler before, now they had plenty to say. because Meghan dragged her back into the spotlight, and not for the right reasons. Suddenly, every mistake, every bad quote, every diva rumor around Rachel was back in circulation. Old footage of Rachel mocking the original Snow White, trending. Clips of Meghan preaching humility in one podcast and defending Rachel's self-destruction in another, spliced together like a parody. A viral caption nailed it: "When the mask slips." But it didn't stop there. A leak hit the internet. Internal PR documents, allegedly from Meghan's camp. The defense of Rachel, not spontaneous, not heartfelt. A calculated move, part of a rebrand strategy. A blueprint to create a sisterhood of silenced women. Zegler, Amber Heard, even a pop star with her own scandal. And the cherry on top? A rumored docuseries. Working title, Uncancelled. The goal? Reclaim the narrative, reframe the backlash, rewrite reality. But instead of gaining power, they handed the public proof that this wasn't about justice. It was about control. So now, instead of Rachel Zegler being just a Hollywood meltdown, and Meghan Markle being just misunderstood royalty, the world saw something else. Two women, linked by controversy, fueled by ego, and now dragging each other down. And the internet, it smelled blood.
Any level of pain or trauma, I believe part of our healing journey, certainly part of mine, is being able to be really open about it. And I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience, but I do think that I would never want someone else to feel that way. And I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans. And I would never want someone else to not be believed. So if me voicing what I have overcome will save someone, or asks or encourage someone in their life to really genuinely check in on them and not assume that the appearance is good so everything's okay, then that's worth it. I'll take a hit for that.
And then, because you seem to be dominating the world of musicals, you're doing Evita in London, right?
Andrew Lloyd Webber fan right over there.
Was that your dad whistling?
Yeah. You guys see Stanley Tucci back there?
That'll be fun, huh?
It's going to be the best time. It's my West End debut. I'm so excited.
You've done a lot of Broadway.
Yeah, I did Shakespeare for 20 weeks. I'm coming off of that right now.
20 weeks of Shakespeare.
It's a lot.
Do they say the audiences in England are different than the American audience?
I've heard they're more reserved, and I certainly didn't have a very reserved experience on Broadway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were in an 800-seat theater in the round, so you really are this close to your audience at times. And I'm with the biggest heartthrob in the world.
You could feel the shift, like the air before a thunderstorm. Because the moment Meghan Markle said, Rachel Zegler deserves better, the internet didn't just clap back, it erupted. Reaction videos flooded TikTok like a tidal wave. One viral post simply read, 2 narcissists, 1 mic. And just like that, the hashtag #unlikability crossover was born. Reddit, Twitter, YouTube. All platforms morphed into battlegrounds. Every past quote, every shady soundbite, every condescending smirk Rachel had ever delivered in a press interview, it was all back, remastered, recontextualized, and roasted. And Meghan? She wasn't spared either. Clips of her old podcast resurfaced, where she warned about celebrity ego, where she claimed young stars lose themselves when they forget humility. Now people were stitching that very quote next to Zegler, calling the original Snow White weird and the prince a stalker. Commentators weren't dissecting the words anymore. They were dissecting the hypocrisy. But the most damning blow wasn't a meme. It was a leak, allegedly from someone inside Meghan's PR circle. Emails, slide decks, strategic plans that named names. Rachel, Amber Heard, even a pop star currently in damage control. The mission? Build a media narrative. Unify controversial women. Turn backlash into brand power. The title? Uncancelled. Seriously? Creators on YouTube had a field day. She's not saving Rachel, one said. She's turning her into a PR chess piece. One TikToker, video amassing nearly 2 million views, didn't even say a word. They just played Meghan's Rachel quote, then cut to a clip of Rachel trashing the Snow White legacy, then cut to Meghan preaching about grace. Caption, "This is why no one believes you anymore." And still, no retraction, no clarification, just a perfectly PR manicured silence. But in that silence, a new story was being written. Not Rachel versus the internet, not Meghan versus the media, but 2 public figures so deep inside their own echo chambers. They didn't even realize the mic was still on. And what came next? A twist so sharp it flipped the entire narrative inside out. Here's the part that no one expected. The defense Meghan Markle thought would feel like solidarity, it backfired. Not just on her, but on Rachel too. Because instead of giving her a fresh start, Meghan gave people the perfect excuse to rewind Rachel's entire controversy playlist and press play. The result? Sympathy turned to suspicion. And then came the boomerang effect. See, just hours after Meghan's podcast aired, her own old words from a previous episode resurfaced. She had once warned about rising stars who lose themselves in the illusion of fame, stars who mistake attention for authenticity. It was eerie, because that exact description sounded like it was ripped from a Rachel Zegler headline. One viral clip mashed both audio clips together. Meghan preaching humility, Rachel mocking Snow White. Cut. Cue the irony. Caption: when the call is coming from inside the castle. But that wasn't the twist. The twist was the leaked playbook. Allegedly, Meghan's entire podcast moment was scripted, strategic, a PR power play to position herself as the defender of misunderstood women. Except, she chose the worst ally possible. Because here's the cold truth. By defending Rachel, Meghan didn't save her. She tied herself to her sinking ship, stapled her name to a headline that reads more like a cautionary tale than a comeback. And when those internal emails surfaced, revealing that the uncanceled docuseries pitch had been shopped around Hollywood, with Rachel Zegler named as one of its centerpiece guests, the internet went feral. Suddenly, this wasn't a show of loyalty. It was a marketing scheme. A calculated image rehab tour masked as female empowerment. And here's the most savage part of all. Rachel didn't say a word. No thank you, no cosign, not even a polite repost. The woman Meghan went all in to defend, left her hanging. And in that silence came the twist of fate nobody saw coming. Meghan didn't just fail to rescue Rachel Zegler. She might have destroyed her own redemption arc in the process. So now we're here. 2 women, 2 reputations, 1 mic, and 0 exits.
Rachel Zegler's casting in Snow White has not been met with a lot of popularity, and now she's pushing back against critics trashing men. Casting Rachel Zegler as Snow White was met with a lot of backlash for racial reasons because Rachel Zegler is Colombian and Polish, where Snow White is German. Because after the new movie, they're changing why she's called Snow White, where it's no longer because her skin was white as snow, but instead because she was born during a snowstorm. Rachel Zegler personally got a lot more hate was when she said she didn't like the story for the original Snow White because it was a prince saving a princess and thought the prince in the original was a creep. She said for the new story, they changed things around where the male lead played by Andrew Burnap is no longer a prince, and she also threw him under the bus, saying he might get cut from the entire movie. She also got criticism because she said her Snow White wouldn't be a maid to the 7 dwarfs, but in this situation the dwarfs would do all the housework and not her. And she was met with a lot of criticism online, but she pushed back against that, saying she believes there's a bunch of men and people in general who can't tolerate the idea of a woman being the hero in a story. Many have pointed out to Zegler it wasn't the prince that saved Snow White, it was actually the Force itself. And she'd know that if she watched the movie, but she hasn't seen it since she was 7. I think this is going to lose 100 million without a Charles Pro subscriber. Learn something.
So now the question is, what happens next? Because Meghan Markle didn't just defend Rachel Zegler, she aligned herself with her. She staked her credibility on someone the internet already decided was finished. And for what? A fleeting podcast moment? A buzzword-laced rant about misunderstood women? A shot at a docuseries no one asked for? Let's be real. This wasn't sisterhood. It was a strategic gamble. And now it's spiraling into a masterclass in how not to read the room. Rachel Zegler, once handpicked by Spielberg, backed by Disney, the voice of a new generation, is now being buried under her own contradictions. And Meghan? She's not the comeback queen anymore. She's the crash test dummy for public image misfires. The truth? This wasn't a defense. It was a mirror. A mirror that showed both women exactly what the public sees now. 2 women who were handed the spotlight and burned it down with their own words. And the most brutal part? They don't even seem to realize it. So here's the real call to action. Do we let them keep controlling the narrative? Do we accept every redemption arc handed to us like it's scripted PR? Or are we finally done pretending every backlash is just hate and not accountability? Because in this story, the real villain isn't fandom, it's ego. And that's the tea for today, my little gossip gremlins. If you enjoyed this drama buffet, don't forget to hit that like button like it's your ex's new partner's Instagram. Aggressively and with 0 shame. Beauty. Subscribe to Fame Files so you never miss a single scandal, meltdown, or red carpet disaster. I'm literally serving up hot gossip every single day, even if my Wi-Fi begs me to stop. And listen, be a doll and tap that bell too, okay? Because your girl Macy's got bills to pay, celeb egos to roast, and a grocery cart full of overpriced almond milk that won't buy itself. Shopping cart money. So until next time, stay nosy, stay fabulous, and remember, I spill it so you don't have to sip in silence. Bye.